All right, let's just jump right in. If you're anywhere near B2B sales or marketing, you've definitely heard the terms ideal customer profile and buyer persona thrown around. A lot. And hey, maybe we even kind of use them to mean the same thing. But what if I told you that getting them mixed up is one of the biggest and most expensive mistakes a team can make? Well, today we're going to clear all that up once and for all.
This quote right here, it gets straight to the heart of the whole problem. It's from a story about a B2B software company that had these perfect, beautifully crafted buyer personas. I mean, they knew everything about the managers they were targeting. The problem? They were aiming all their efforts at these perfect individuals who worked at companies that could never afford their product or just flat out didn't need it. They totally nailed the who, but completely missed the where.
And that is the real cost, isn't it? Getting this wrong isn't just some small slip up. It means your sales team is out there just spinning its wheels, burning through time and energy on leads that were never, ever going to convert. So it's absolutely crucial we understand what each of these tools is for. Let's start with the first piece of the puzzle. Okay, first up, the ideal customer profile, or ICP for short. The best way to think about this is that the ICP defines the where. It's basically your map. It shows you the right places to look before you even start thinking about the actual people you'll be talking to. To put it simply, an ICP is all about the perfect company for your product. Notice I said company, not person. We're not talking about people yet. This is about the organization as a whole, the type of business that's going to get a ton of value from what you offer, and just as important, actually has the money to buy it. So what goes into building one of these? Well, you're looking at things like company size and revenue. For instance, maybe they need to be making over $2 million a year to even consider your enterprise plan. You're also looking at their industry, their location, and even their current tech stack. I mean, think about it. A company that's still running on spreadsheets probably isn't ready for your fancy analytics software, right? And finally, you have to consider urgency. Is there a pressing need, like a compliance deadline, that's going to make them act fast? Oh, and by the way, this isn't a set it and forget it kind of thing. The best teams are revisiting their ICP every quarter to make sure it's still on point.
Okay, so how do you actually find these perfect fit companies? Here's a super practical two-step method. First, you can use a tool like Crunchbase to sort companies by their funding stage. It's a really great way to get a quick read on their budget and where they are in their growth journey. Then, once you have that initial list, you hop over to something like LinkedIn Sales Navigator to dig a whole lot deeper, filtering by size, industry, even what kind of roles they're hiring for. It's all about finding the quality accounts, not just a massive quantity of them.
All right, so you've used your ICP to pinpoint the right companies. Fantastic. Now the question is, who do you actually talk to once you're inside? And that brings us to part two, the buyer persona. This is all about the who. So a buyer persona is basically a deep dive profile of a specific person you need to convince. If the ICP helped you find the right office building, the persona helps you find the right person at the right desk inside that building. It's about getting inside their head, understanding their goals, their pain points, and how they make decisions so you can tailor your message just for them. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. A great persona isn't just a job title, no way. It gets into the nitty-gritty. What do they do all day? Like, do they manage the editorial calendar? What are their goals? Are they judged on how much content their team produces? How much power do they have? Can they sign off on a $5,000 purchase on their own? And where do they get their information? Are they hanging out in specific Slack communities? You really want to dig into their biggest worries and objections too. The goal here is to get super deep on just a few key roles, not to have a dozen shallow profiles you can't do anything with. So now we have our two tools, the ICP for the where and the persona for the who. And this next part is the most important thing, and it's where so many people mess up. You have to use them in the right order. It's not an either-or situation, it's a sequence. It is always ICP first, and then the persona. This chart just lays it out perfectly. Look, you use your ICP at the very, very beginning of your sales process. Its whole job is to be a filter. It pre-qualifies companies so you're not wasting a single second on a bad fit. Then, only after a company makes it through that ICP filter do you bring in the buyer persona. And its job is totally different. It's all about helping you personalize your outreach and have a meaningful conversation. Okay, now that we know what they are and when to use them, let's talk about what happens when you bring them together. Because when you combine these two things the right way, well, that's when you get a seriously powerful, focused strategy. This is where the magic really happens. I absolutely love this quote. It just makes the whole thing so simple and easy to remember, right? Your ideal customer profile tells you which doors to knock on, and your buyer personas tell you exactly what to say when somebody answers. You need both. You just do. So let's really picture this. How do these two ideas snap together, in the real world? And boom, this slide just nails it. This is the perfect visual. Your ICP defines the target building, a company with, say, over 5,000 employees, a budget of at least 10K, and it's in North America. That's your first filter. Once you find that building, then your personas come into play. You're not just selling to a building, you're selling to the people inside. People like Building Operations Owen, who's probably up at night worrying about downtime. And also people like building owner Betty, who's laser focused on cost savings. Same company, right? But those are two totally different conversations. So, to wrap this all up, here's your final cheat sheet. Think of it like this. The ICP's focus is the organization. It asks the question, which companies? And you use it for qualification. The buyer persona's focus is the individual. It asks, who's inside? And you use it for personalization. See, it's really that simple when you break it down. And that brings us right back to where we started. It is so easy to get obsessed with the who, right? Crafting that perfect persona. But that is only half the battle. Because if you don't first know where to find them, you're just talking to all the right people in all the wrong places.